But Rose Parade, we became involved with the Rose Parade our very first year. Grandma Gunnell came out to visit us at Christmas time. Well, there were 2 times, and I can't remember. And the first year, no, I think Mother and Dave came to visit us at Christmas time, and we wanted to take them to the Rose Parade. And so we, Dad and I slept all night inside the entrance to a store, and we took our sleeping bags and doubled together and actually stayed out all night to save chairs so that we'd have a place for Mother and Dave and our family to actually sit and see the parade. And it was cold, and students of Dad would come by and recognize him, and I was so embarrassed. I thought, oh, what a tacky thing to be doing. And then I learned through the years everybody does that, and we were okay. But that was our first year at the Rose Parade, was Dad and I sleeping out in a sleeping bag to save a spot. The next year, the second year, Grandma Gunnell came to stay, and her dear friend and former brother-in-law, Ray Parks, the one who had given Dad the job with the garbage company when we were graduate students, was out there for Christmas. And so we bought, I think Uncle Ray probably bought his own, but we bought tickets in the grandstand for us and for Grandma Gunnell to have a nice place to go. And Ray was there, Ray and Edith, and they bought tickets too, and they wanted us to buy a parking spot for their car, and we, not knowing any better, bought a parking space in a garage or a tire shop right on Colorado Boulevard. And so we just whizzed up there like nothing, parked. It was close, right, half a dozen steps from this big grandstand seat. Watched the Rose Parade in luxury from these big, and Dad left early. I don't remember whether he went to the Rose Bowl game that year or not, but he wasn't with us when we came home. So it was Grandma and I and Ray and Edith and you and Karen, which pretty well filled up his car. And it was air conditioned, but he couldn't keep the air conditioning working those early years. I don't think it was as efficient. And we were stranded for hours, probably 2 to 3 hours, trying to get his big fancy air conditioned car from Colorado Boulevard back to Naomi, because we were caught.
In traffic.
Well, I think that was it. It just took us forever to get home. And so over the years, we learned, if I could just make the little segment on the Rose Bowl altogether, we started from the beginning, as I said, sleeping in a sleeping bag, the 2 of us, to the high end of actually buying grandstand seats, to the only time I ever remember missing a Rose Parade is when I was very, very pregnant, probably with Julie, because she was born in January, that Dad took the kids and I stayed home because I didn't think I would make it through the bathroom stops. That was my main reason for staying home. I was so pregnant and so tied to little bathroom duties. But we had one year, and I don't have any order for these, but just to show you a variety of ways. One year we took 2 ladders and we spread them out, and then we carried, if you can imagine, a 2x12, and we would put the ladders up, and then they would support the 2x12, and then the kids could sit on the 2x12, and one of us or 2 of us could stand up on the ladders at each end. And we tried that, but merchants didn't like that very well. It made them nervous with their big plate glass windows to have a contraption that they could see might fall and fall into their windows. So we tried that. We tried just taking a big ladder and perching the kids at the top and Dad and I standing on different steps, and that was pretty efficient. Dad was very cognizant of the fact, even though he wasn't with us that year that we had to come home with Uncle Ray, that parking coming home was a potential problem. So he always went early enough and parked the car a few blocks away, thinking it's okay to walk up, you're nice and fresh, and to walk back. But the car was always pointed south toward home, so you could slip into traffic and you could be near a corner where some streets the traffic moved better than others, and so we didn't have too much trouble after that first year getting home in good time. One year we had decided not to go, and Bob Andrus called us, and they had some chairs set out on the parade route somewhere, and he told us where they were, and we went up, and when we got there, because they had decided not to go, and the chairs were just sitting there, it was not very early, it was probably close to parade time, and people were all around, and here were sitting the Andruses' chairs. Nobody had taken them, and we were able to. So they saved us from missing a Rose Parade because we had decided that year we would just skip it, and we ended up going anyhow. But then after time, we got together with Bill Van Dusen and one or two others, probably Bob Hatch, I can't remember who over the years. But we started borrowing church chairs, older church chairs, and setting them out in the early evening on Colorado Boulevard. You had to keep them up on the sidewalk, but by midnight you could move about. There was a line into the street off the curb, and that you could be out that far. And so we would start with our chairs on the sidewalk. You couldn't impede the traffic of people coming and going, but you had the chairs. And we would the men would take turns. Somebody was there all through the night to guard our chairs, because we didn't trust them to remain there, and to also move them out onto the street. Usually you moved them out before midnight, but the police never said anything. And so we started doing that, and the idea grew, and we had, and I won't mention names because I don't want to cast aspersions on any, but we had some people in the ward who never ever took a turn watching the chairs or putting them up or taking them down, but they would call and say, can we be part of that? I have family. Can we bring our family too? And we always said yes, yes, yes. We were always happy. Dad and Bill and whoever else were just always happy to do that. And it was such a great thing. We got up to about 150 chairs, I think, by the time it ended. And we found, after we'd moved around different places, there was a cycle shop that had a driveway that came from Colorado right beside their shop, and they had space behind. And they loved us as Mormons to be in front of their stairs. Technically, that wasn't their property, but they made it as pleasant and agreeable for us to be there as we could be, because they knew we didn't drink, and their property was well looked after. And in the days when we had a motorhome, he even would invite us to bring our motorhomes. So there would be 2 or 3 of us that had motorhomes that would park behind his shop and hook into his electricity to furnish the power for our motorhomes. And so that became, one year there, because it was a cycle shop, we got a lot of these motorcycle, it was a motorcycle gang, And they were right next to us, and I was a little concerned because we had a lot of little kids. But the head man of that motorcycle group hunted up Dad and Bill, wanted to know who was in charge of our group. And he said, "Don't you worry, I'll see that none of my men intrude upon your space or give you any problems. If they do, come see me." And so they were rough looking on the outside, but they were good men on the inside, and we never had any problems with them. So that was a great joy. And you'll see, if you see our pictures of, because we not only sat in the seats, but the kids liked to put blankets down on the ground and be right up there, right on the front row when the parade came by. And there's nothing in the world that matches seeing the Rose Parade live. Was a beauty about it that you lose in translation when you watch it on television. It was one of the grandest family traditions that we had to be there on New Year's Day. And then we always came home after the parade and had baked ham and potato salad and whatever else. That was the main ingredients. And watched football games all day long. Dad would have, we didn't have the taping abilities they do now, but he would have a little TV set out at the side, a little black and white, and our colored one, and knowing how to switch back and with the remote switch back and forth. And we saw all of the big games. And in those years, there were the four major: Rose Bowl, Cotton Bowl, Sugar Bowl, and what's become Orange Bowl. Those were the four. And we watched all of them all day long, or slept through them, which wasn't unusual, but it was a great family tradition.